Today, Darktide finally got the patch that completed the game and added a ton of stuff that was promised since launch, so this is going to be a summary of all the good and bad important new things that got added, and the full patch notes will be linked in the description for you. But I do know there's one big thing on most people's minds, and that's if they should come back to the game and give it another chance or not, and my goal is to help you to decide that by the end of this. So we're lighting this off with patch number 4, 1.027. Basically, it brings almost everything we wanted with some much overdue quality of life, and the first big one is loadouts. We don't actually have to swap our whole kit around all the time anymore. All you do is press I or escape and go up to the top right and click the plus to add a new setup. Then change whatever weapons, feats, and curios you need, and it will automatically save to the war gear slot that you have open. There's no confirm save or anything like that, it's just automatic, so make sure you click the next tab before setting up a new one, or it'll just overwrite whatever one you have open at the time. I played around with it a little bit, and it honestly feels pretty clean to use, so I'm pretty happy with it. Then, of course, the most requested thing since launch: less RNG. The shopkeep now has an acquire button for whatever weapon you actually want, and this is probably the overall best change they added. It doesn't take away shop camping completely for blessings, but this is actually really solid. Now, every weapon I did buy was gray, and I bought a couple of weapons just to make sure that that never changed. So if you get something that isn't gray, let me know in the comments or on Discord, but for now, I'll assume that you can only get gray weapons. But I'm still overall really happy with this change, because now I can actually attempt to god roll the items that I want to use at a more consistent rate, and it gives me more of a Diablo 3 blood shard feeling where you're just gambling away useless currency for things you actually want. So even though the method for rolling a best in slot item hasn't changed, obtaining the things you actually want got a lot easier. And the easy perfect items video I launched a while ago explains the most efficient and cheapest way to actually get god rolled items by gimmicking the perk system, but I'll update it tomorrow to include blessings and be less confusing, so we'll just have an updated version of that, because we finally got the Shrine of the Omnissiah completed and fully implemented in the exact way that we asked for. Basically, you walk up and hit the earn blessing button, and it'll eat whatever weapon you have selected, so make sure you don't have the thing you want to use selected when you do this, and it just puts that blessing in your library permanently by consuming the weapon. And one of the nice things about it is that your blessing library is actually account wide. Now we just need all the resources to be, but it is locked to that specific type of weapon. So for an example, if you have a surge staff, you can only get blessings from other surge staffs, not a void strike staff or a purgatos, even though they have the same type of blessings, which I do hope they end up changing in the future. But another example, just in case that wasn't enough, is an MG4 lasgun shares a blessing pool with the MG12 lasgun. So as long as it's in the same family of weapons, it can acquire the blessings you rip out. And unfortunately, it does lock the other blessing that you don't reroll, just like the perks. So that's why I talked about the slow rolling method a second ago. But overall, I still think it's a pretty good system, because you can decide if a weapon is worth upgrading to legendary as soon as you get it to blue. And I know a lot of people will dislike this system because it's designed to keep you in game longer. But it's a lot easier to get weapons and blessings now, because Mr. Milkers usually has level 3 and 4 blessings on his weapons. So you can kind of just buy what you need off of him, and basically I'm going to be using my weekly tokens as blessing fodder from now on. And Milkers also got a lot better contracts with infinite rerolls, giving us full control over our missions, and it's nice because they are finally rewarding us for playing higher tiers with more gold, plasteel, and diamantine. But we're also going to get more gold for doing side missions based on difficulty. It's honestly about time the T5 enjoyers got something, and it's a fat change to let us get up to 800 plasteel per mission. So I'm going to be rolling a ton of items on stream, and I can't wait to show you all some crazy combinations that I have planned. But on top of the raw rewards, we're also going to automatically get an Emperor's Gift with every single mission that we do. And it has a chance to roll up based on the difficulty level that we play on, which is exactly what I requested 2 months ago in a video that a lot of you posted everywhere on the forums and Reddit. So thank you. They actually listened to us and put it in. Feels nice to know that somebody was listening to us this whole time. I just don't know if they're still capped at 10 gifts per character every week. Once I find out, I'll just pin my comment at the top there. But if you know, just comment it right away and I'll end up pinning that one. So before we move on, there was one more massive in-game change that everyone's been asking for. Poxbursters actually blow their teammates up now. So I'm actually super hyped about that one, and we know that the next step to this is shooty boys not blazing through their teammates anymore. But that takes us into our class changes, and if you missed it 2 weeks ago, Psyker got a massive buff that let it hit new breakpoints to 1 and 2 shot heretics that it couldn't before, making it a lot more fun to play across the board and actually feel powerful now. So Psyker caught a massive W, but in the same patch, Ogren got a couple of nerfs that didn't actually end up mattering that much. The main thing is this patch, it got fixed to be the lumbering giant it was meant to be. The stun effect from having your toughness break from shooty boys isn't actually as strong anymore against the Ogren, and it actually had its knife through butter feat replaced. So now instead of unlimited cleave, you get bonus damage on heavy attacks based on the amount of enemies you staggered, which will end up being a pretty solid bonus for the higher AoE cleave weapons. And finally, the Bulgor feat is fixed to apply a proper bleed stack to everything that it hits and not instantly fall off, letting you actually combine it with the bleed damage reduction to be the tanky boy you deserve to be. Overall, Ogren just got a lot stronger with everything in this patch, and it's going to be an absolute menace now. Then back to 2 weeks ago, Zealot got row 1 changes to make it have more toughness regen, but less toughness damage reduction. And Vet's counterfire actually works now, so that's good, I guess. And overall, I think the class changes are pretty solid, and as long as they keep fixing this stuff, they're basically only going to get better. But that takes us into weapon changes, and there was quite a few of them, but I'm not going over each weapon individually because it was basically just sweeping blessing buffs across the board. And they are really trying to bring a lot of those weaker melee weapons up in power, so you're going to see a lot of crit chance and bonus damage changes that will feel meaningful to equip now, with the biggest changes targeted at the Emperor's finest weapons, swords and shovels. But it also looks like the finesse modifier got a pretty massive increase, making anything with it way stronger. So all the axe enjoyers are going to be feeling pretty good about this one. And then a bunch of the other special blessings for specific weapons got buffed to make them more relevant and not feel like wasted space. And then the ranged weapons got ridiculous buffs, and basically all of the B through D tier weapons on the tier list got way better with this update, with some standout ones like the Hellbore Lasguns getting minor buffs and the pistols getting massive buffs across the board. But one of the biggest changes is to the Blaze Away blessing going from 10% all the way up to 50% damage increase on a ton of weapons like the Flamer, making it even better than it already was. But more importantly, this directly affected our big man Ogren, and it already had the highest raw DPS loadout in the game if you excluded armor penetration with the MK2 Ripper gun. And it just got 50% better. And that seems absolutely ridiculous, and I can't wait to try it out later because I already have it fully kitted. So it's a real big winner out of all of this, but I think the heavy stubber just got absolutely ridiculous and became a menace. But they also went deeper into the Blazeway blessing and explained it with more context, so it basically refreshes its buff as long as you shoot right when the weapon is ready to after a reload, meaning that the rapid fire weapons can keep the buff up the entire time, and the single shot weapons can benefit from it now too. So the kickback might actually be usable now, and the Rumbler and Grenade Gauntlet both got insane power spikes while already being ridiculously good. I know a ton of the Ogren enjoyers love both of those weapons, including myself, so I'm really happy with these changes. So that obviously means I have to update the range healers with blessings being less RNG, so that means a ton of things are going to be moving around, and we're going to have a lot more accurate representation of weapons' true power, and then the melee tier list is going to be coming up right after that. You know, I honestly thought emotes were just going to be really stupid and cringe, but now that I'm praising the Omnisaya with my Ogren brother, I realize the RP value and I really don't hate it as much. But I do think they are bad because we can't use them in actual games to T-pose on heretics, and that's really what I need to be doing. They're just kind of a fun addition that I can't be too mad at. But that does take us into our bad stuff, and I do think the whole perk and blessing lock thing is a huge L still. It's just designed to keep us in game longer, and I really think it needs to be removed so we can have full control over our weapons. Even though it's a lot better and it's actually completed crafting now, I think if they removed the locks from the weapons, people would just be way happier and there would actually just be nothing to complain about. So only time will tell if L Shark actually turned into W Shark, and we'll see how that goes in the coming weeks after this update, and I'll be doing like a thoughts on this patch a week from now after I've tested everything. So personally, overall, right now, I think the game is worth giving a shot again and rethinking because they finally finished it. Everything that we wanted is actually in the game and actually feels pretty rewarding to play. Only a cool winter's day 3 months after release. And a lot of people ask me if I'm still making Darktide content. I don't actually plan on dropping the game until Fat Shark says they give up on it or just drop support for it. But I also do just variety game. I kind of just play whatever I feel like, and I just make videos for whatever game I'm having the most fun playing. So this isn't a one game channel and it never will be, but for every patch in the future, I'll summarize the overall changes and update the tier list in those videos if they're minor, or if there's massive changes, I'll update them in their own videos. So make sure you join the Discord to keep up to date with everything that I'm doing, and I hope you have a great night.